She does not look down on them as objects per se, but she sees the role of those objects changing. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but around our house we have antiques, and we don't use any of them the way they were originally intended. I have a little, I don't know if you can see on the top shelf there behind me. Right up on the top shelf there is a, where's my finger? Right up here is a coffee grinder. I've never ground coffee in that thing. I used to put keys in the little drawer down below. All the key, secret keys for the house. They're in a different place now, I'm not telling you. But anyway, it's for decoration. It's like to prop up the books up there. Dee thinks a quilt needs to be put on the wall. It needs to be framed and labeled. It needs to be put in a museum. Dasher, same thing. It needs to be this thing that's stuck in the corner to add to the decor of her New York apartment, which she gets after graduating magna cum laude from such and such university. Now she's off to her high-end job downtown. She sees these things as symbols of her past and her heritage, but certainly not a representation of her everyday life. She does not see these items as things that she must now use. She doesn't need a dasher. She can go get her cream and her milk and butter from the store. She's got her big newfangled fridge. She doesn't need quilts. She's got comforters. Now, there's something special about quilts. Quilts are made in ways that very much represent the people making them. I don't know if you've ever heard of the old-fashioned quilting bee, but it's in the South. It's a bunch of women who get together, and they all work all day long, stitching the patches on the quilts, talking, eating, laughing, having a good time. A very, very social activity. But the quilt itself represents a lot of family heritage. So Dee recognizes this, but she doesn't think, sitting around in a quilting bee is all that, sophisticated. She thinks, people like her and other well-educated African Americans, it's time for them to see those items as evidence of where they came from, but certainly not representative of where they are now. The mother and Maggie see the items as useful items. The title makes reference to that, everyday use. Maggie's not going to put the quilt on the wall and stand back stroking her chin with her friends, making clever observations about it and giving, the long history of it. She's going to take that quilt and pull it up under her chin on a cold autumn night. And she's going to use that quilt until the thing is worn out. It's coming apart at the seams. And when that happens, she's going to make a new one. When the dashers break, when the bottom falls out, they're going to carve a new one. And they're going to do this because it's necessary. They are not educated in the in the formal sense, I should say. Very, very educated in their way of life, though. So anyway, that's where they part company as far as appreciating quilts and dashers. Who do you think is more educated in her own heritage, Maggie or Dee, and in what ways? I've posed this question to previous classes, and I do get differing responses. Some students will say that Maggie is more educated because she is skilled in the making and using of all the family items, all the things that Dee considers artifacts. She's very skilled in doing that. She can make a decent living for herself, doing all the things you and I might take for granted. She can do all of those things with her hands. She can do it herself. As well, she's retaining appreciation for those things. She doesn't feel like she's above them. And so there's an emotional intelligence there, if you will. So not only is she skilled, but in making those items, she understands their history, but she has an emotional intelligence about them. Now, on the other hand, some students have said D is more educated. She's formally educated. Here she is getting a college education, yet at the same time she rejects the everyday use aspect of the things like quilts and dashers. Students have also said the reason Dee is less educated than Maggie is that she has abandoned her emotional attachment, her cultural appreciation for those items. She has abandoned her connection to them. And it's entirely up to you. When you read the story, I want you to think to yourself, what is it that constitutes an education? Is it just like an acquiring of information? Is it just tucking facts away in your brain? Computers are that way. And if that's the extent of intelligence, then a computer is intelligent. But if we imagine intelligence going beyond that, to not just being able to regurgitate information. You throw a bunch of facts in here and then ask me questions and I regurgitate the answers. Is that being smart? Possibly not. It's part of it. You have to have information to be able to process it, but that's the higher level of intelligence. Being able to criticize, analyze, evaluate information, to bring together seemingly disconnected information and creating new ideas and information from it, pushing the boundaries, having vision, all the things that have been created, even the computer itself. What was it like in the very beginning when people began to think of an idea such as a computation machine, the simpler computation machines, and then developing them into what we have now, and all of the things that could be hooked up to it, all the other technological hardware. What does it take to have a brain that can take, primitively developed things and develop them into more complicated